This is Money Talks.
Hi, my name is Ibukun Oyedeji, President CFA Society Nigeria. Join me and a host of other financial industry practitioners for Money Talks with CFA Society Nigeria.
Money Talks with CFA Society Nigeria. Let's talk about money. Hello everyone and welcome to Money Talks. Money Talks is brought to you by CFA Society Nigeria and I am Smart Uzechi. You can call me Captain Smart and you'll be very fine. Today, we have a special guest in the studio, Dr. Irene Robinson Ayanwale. She has over 2 decades of experience spanning the financial industry, capital market sector, international cross-border trade, ESG, and alternative dispute resolution, among other areas. She holds fellowship positions in the Institute of Capital Markets Registrars and Institute of Corporate Administrators and serves as an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Directors and a non-executive director of Credit Aid Limited. For over a decade, she held diverse senior and executive positions at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, which was later rebranded as Nigerian Exchange Group PLC, overseeing functions such as company secretarial, legal affairs, corporate services, and sustainability. She was the divisional head, Business Support Services, General Counsel, NGX, and Executive Committee of Management's role until April 2024. And that's my guest on the program this evening, Dr. Irene Robinson Ayanwale. Good evening to you, madam, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So good to have you. And we will be discussing this evening understanding the stock market. Yeah, I'm sure you'd like to talk about that. Understanding the stock market. If you have anything to do around the stock market, you want to trade in stocks, we'll have a professional here in the house. And the conversation will begin in just a moment after this break.
Money Talks.
Money Talks.
Money Talks. Money Talks. Money Talks with CFA Society Nigeria. Let's talk about money. Welcome back to the program. Understanding stock markets is our subject of discussion this evening. Understanding the stock market. And I am talking this evening, I'll be discussing with Dr. Irene Robinson Ayanwale. She is the guest on the program. Captain Smart is my name. You can call the telephone numbers 0700 923 923 923. That's 0700 923 923 923. You can also call 0818 444 0923 or just send us a message on WhatsApp. You can also send us a voice note on 0817 313 6193. So, Dr. Irene, can I start by asking you this evening, because people have been talking about stock market, stock and all of that. So can you just break down for us this evening, what is the stock exchange or stock market? How does it function actually?
Okay, thank you for the question. So the stock market and the stock exchange, they are words that are used interchangeably. They mean similar things, but they are slightly different. So when we're talking about the stock exchange, we're talking about a specific electronic platform or an organized marketplace where companies, the federal government, state government, firms, and even supranationals come and they list securities in order to raise money. And then investors like you and I, can buy those securities in order to make a profit or a higher return off the money we have invested. So that is the stock exchange. It's a platform that gives you that opportunity. The stock market refers to the total ecosystem itself, because that ecosystem, to facilitate buying and selling of securities has to be in place. And so you have within that ecosystem the Securities and Exchange Commission, which regulates the whole stock market. You have the brokers who help you to buy and sell. You have the companies themselves who are the ones giving you those securities. And then you have all sorts of other players as well within the stock market.
Oh, wow. So what then is the difference between a stock exchange or a market And the regular market, is it like if I go to Aswani market or I go to Balogun market? What's the difference here?
Okay, so the first difference is that you're buying securities as opposed to tangible products, as it were. The second difference is that you actually have a market that is well regulated, and so if you go to a regular market, you just enter into a stall, and then you have to do your haggling and your purchase, and whatever you buy, buyers beware, as it were, in some terms. But in terms of the stock market, it's heavily regulated, and so in terms of the companies or the organizations coming to bring their securities within the market, there's a regulation that governs that. In terms of those buying and selling and helping you to buy and sell, there's something that regulates that. The other difference is that with a regular market, you walk in directly and you buy. With the stock market, you have what we call stockbrokers who act as the intermediaries and help you to buy and sell those securities.
And you must use them.
Yes, under the Nigerian regulation, you must use them. But the beautiful thing is that we have brought in technology within the stock market. And so now, even though you are going through a broker, you can do everything electronically.
Okay, the broker will just be at the background.
Exactly, yes.
All right. Okay, so now that we've established that, so we know what stocks are, can you tell us what are the different types or kinds of stocks that you have out there and the features that they have?
Okay, so the most popular being the shares, what people know, and basically what are shares? It means that you own a part of a company. So you can own a part of Zenith Bank, you can own a part of Access Bank, you can own a part of GTB. Just name all of the various companies that are listed on the stock securities exchange. You can own rights in them. So that's the shares. And so companies come and say, well, I'm going to issue my shares so that you can own and be a part of the owners of the business. Then you have what we call the fixed income, which is also called bonds. So companies that want to raise money might decide and say, okay, I don't want to give you shares in my company, but I want you to lend me money. I want to borrow from you. And so you have the fixed income, which are the bonds, which organizations used to lend borrow money from investors. And when you borrow, when a bond is issued, what happens then is that you are entitled to a fixed rate of return over a certain period of time. So it could be a 5-year bond, it could be a 10-year bond, and within that period, perhaps every quarter, you get some interest payments, and then at the end of the tenure, you then get back your money, but you have made a lot of returns over time, and it's at a fixed rate that you know beforehand. You also have the exchange traded funds. So the exchange traded funds are basically a fund where people put in money. Various investors come together and they put in money and they say, okay, we want this money invested on the basis of some index or sectors that we are tracking in the stock market. So if you look at the NGX, for example, you have the pension index, you have the premium index, you have the NGX 30 index. And so with an ETF, what you then do is that the holder of that fund purchases securities based on all of those securities within those indices. So you have that as well. You have the mutual funds as well. It's somehow similar to ETFs, but the difference is that people pull funds together and they invest in various products. It could be money market products, it could be capital market products as well.
All right, so we already know what the stock market is, the stock exchange. They will have the different kinds of stocks. You just finished talking to us about shares, bonds, mutual funds, and all of that. So now you said to play here, you can't just go in and out. There's no free entry and free exit. you need a broker,
yes.
Right? Okay, walk us through the process of buying. So if there's buying, there must be selling as well. So what's the process? Because sometimes I've spoken to people, they say, this way, once you buy these shares now, if I want to sell them, I go come hard. So sometimes I will say, I leave my cash under my pillow, anytime I want it, I can get it. So what are the processes to buying and selling of these stocks you're talking about?
So first of all, to enter the stock market, you must get a broker. And so if you go to the NGX website, you will find a list of brokers, and it also shows their compliance level so that you are comfortable choosing a broker of your choice. And so once you choose a broker, you get in touch with that broker, and the broker will do what they call a KYC. As we know, under both national and global laws, there's a need around KYC. And so once you go through that process, you register with that broker, and then you're onboarded. And then anytime you want to purchase or sell securities, you just notify the broker. And like I said, all of these things are actually seamless now, and these things are done electronically. A lot of brokers, work with their clients electronically.
do you have to pay them?
Yeah, well, it's not a charity, though. It's making positive impact, by turning the lives of people around. So yes, brokers will take a commission off, purchases and sales that they make. But the beautiful thing is that from a legislative perspective, the commissions they can take are paying down. And then secondly, you can also negotiate with brokers, such that you have a commission that works for you.
So there's a ceiling to the amount of commission they will take.
Yes, but having said that, you can still negotiate
downwards. So
yes.
Not at their discretion, actually.
No.
All right. In case you're joining us now, it's Money Talks. Money Talks. This evening, we're looking at understanding the stock market. Dr. Irene Robinson Ayanwale is the guest on the program this evening. You can call the telephone number 0700 923 923 923. That's 0700 923 923 923. Or you can also call us on 0818 444 0923. That's 0818 444 0923. Should you have questions around the stock market, the Nigeria Stock Exchange, or if you have anything to do with shares, you want to buy shares, or you have already bought it, you're having problems with it, there's a professional here in the house. You can ask her questions and be sure to get professional answers. While she's here, the services are free. You're not going to have to pay her for any services that she renders. It will be free of charge. But when she leaves the studio, I cannot guarantee that it's going to be free. So you have time now to call and ask your questions as we expect your call. So Dr. Irene, who are the main participants in the stock market?
Okay, so first of all, the Securities and Exchange Commission, they are the apex regulator who regulate the market to ensure that everything is done in a transparent, orderly, and fair manner. Okay,
we need to take this call. Just hold your thoughts. Hello, good evening to you.
Hello, good afternoon, Pastor.
Thank you so much for calling. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, my name is Louis. Louis Destin.
Welcome.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I wanted to find out, based on your explanation on the stock market, can one trade stock just like using AI? If you don't want to have a broker, that you pay some sort of commission to just use your AI and trade your stock. Usually, you already have a background experience in it.
So at this time, under Nigerian law, you won't be able to trade on your own without having a broker.
So you can listen over the radio, Louis.
Hello?
Yeah, you can
yes.
go ahead. He's listening.
So, under Nigerian law for now, you would have to trade using a broker. But having said that, in terms of the decisions regarding, what stocks to buy or sell, you can decide that and inform your broker, and your broker just carries out your instructions. So to his point, if you're someone that is quite knowledgeable about the market and you're able to read, you just notify your broker and say, this is what I want you to do.
Okay.
But at the same time, if he really feels he's such an expert, you can also actually, take professional exams and become a broker yourself. The Charter Institute of Stockbrokers, is always open and available to bring in new people.
But that takes quite some time, right?
Not necessarily. Everything is fast track now.
Okay. And a question coming in from WhatsApp here says, good evening, Smart. Please help me to ask Dr. Irene if First Bank has done their AGM meeting. This is Nonyalim.
Sorry, I'm not
You
able
can
to
Google
answer.
it now.
Yes, please.
Nonyalim, you can Google that one. So we go back to the question I asked earlier for you to tell us the main participant in the stock market.
Yeah, so I started with the Securities Exchange Commission, and then we have what we call market infrastructures. So market infrastructures are infrastructures that ensure that the whole process of the securities market goes seamlessly. And so you have the stock exchange, Securities Exchange. You have what we call the CSDs, and those are the ones that handle the clearing and the settlement, which means after the trade happens, the buying and the selling, the securities that have been bought and sold need to be exchanged and monies need to go to those who need it. And
like
so,
some sort of like the banking clearinghouse.
Yes, the clearinghouse,
Okay.
exactly. So that's the CSD. Then you also have what we call the CCPs, and those are something that, infrastructures that were set up a few years ago to deal with derivatives, which have been a new product that have entered the market. And so what they do for derivatives is that they help with the risk management to ensure that, parties are able to fulfill the obligations that they have entered into. So those are market infrastructures. Then you have the issuers, and issuers are the ones who issue the securities, which means a company that says, okay, these are my shares, or these are the bonds I'm issuing to you, or those that issue the mutual funds or the ETFs we'll talk about. So those are called issuers. Then you also have the registrars, and those are the ones who maintain the shareholding of all of the companies. And so they can tell you at any single date, these are the shareholders of this company and this is the volume of shares that they have. And then of course you have the brokers. So those are the key participants I would mention in terms of for investors. There are other participants, but they deal with other areas, not necessarily directly related to investors.
In case you just joined now, it's Money Talks by CFA Society Nigeria, and this evening we're discussing understanding the stock market. Dr. Irene Robinson Ayanwale is the guest on the program, and you have about 10 minutes to consult her for free as she's here. You have stocks, you're planning to deal in stocks, you want to buy or sell, or perhaps you're having issues with your stocks. You can call in 0700-923-923-923. That's how to talk to us here. There's also 0818-444-0923. If you can call on those numbers, you can be talking to her before we end the program very shortly. So doctor, for over 10 years, you were there at the NGX, very senior executive positions, and when people like you talk about these things, they make it look like, oh, this is heaven on earth. Once you buy these stocks, your problems are over and all of that. Are there attendant risks, associated with investing in stocks, or is it just the moment I invest in stocks, I don't blow, as we say it in local parlance here?
So we always inform people that there are risks involved in terms of investments, and so one of those risks is what we call market risks. So market risk is basically that the price of the stock may fluctuate. So you may have bought a stock maybe worth 50,000 naira, and then maybe because the price goes down, then that stock is then worth maybe 40 or 30,000 naira, depending on what that fluctuation is. But of course, there's also the possibility that the stock then appreciates in price, and then you actually get higher returns. And the beautiful thing with stocks is that beyond just the price appreciation, you also have things like dividends that companies, will pay you annually. You also have
small money. You hear 50 kobo per share, 20 kobo per share.
Yes, but then multiply that with the volume of shares you have, and so that in itself, encourages you to keep on investing in those shares. So there's that market risk based on the fluctuation that could affect your share price. The second thing as well is in terms of the, interest rate risk itself. And that usually would affect things like bonds. So for example, if at the time that you've invested in this bond, the interest rate is that maybe the interest rate was 20% and the bond that you were issued was 25%. It's good because you're actually, you're getting higher returns. So it's the best place to put your money. But and remember that bonds are for a fixed period of time, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. But then during that period of time, interest rates go up to 30. But you have a bond that is at 25, so there's that interest rate risk. But having said that, you can always trade on your bonds. They are also liquid. The other issue is also around liquidity risk, which you mentioned, which is sometimes you may find it difficult to sell your investment when you need to sell it. But having said that, there are ways to mitigate that, which is basically, making the right decisions around, the securities you invest in. You don't just invest for the sake of investing. You need to study the market, study the company, study the bonds, all those types of things, and say, okay, yes, this seems like a good investment, such that, if at any point in time when I'm ready to sell, I always have someone to sell to. So those are examples of, the risk. You also have the inflation risk itself, because at the end of the day, every time you're investing, you want it to outpace inflation. So it could be that at some point in time, your returns are not outpacing, inflation.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this question this way, because we used to say this back in the day, just on the streets. They say, in case of incasity, If you're listening at home, that's not good English, right? But I'm just trying to drive out something. So if something goes wrong, I mean, who do you go to as an investor? If there's a problem, this broker you're talking about, if I have a problem with this broker, there's a dispute between my broker and I, or even between me and the company I've invested in, where do I get a remedy from?
So it is to assure investors that the market already has structures in place to ensure that these types of things are handled. So first of all, if you have issues with your broker, you actually will contact the Nigerian Exchange Limited. But please ensure that when you're dealing with a broker, you ensure that that broker is actually licensed by the Nigerian Exchange Limited. And that's why I encourage that before you choose a broker, go to the NGX website and check. You have a list of brokers there and all of those types of things that give.
So they are fake brokers?
Well, yes, there are people that allege that they are brokers. So you can contact the NGX, and the NGX will ensure that it deals with those issues with your broker. Now, if you have issues with the company itself, the Securities and Exchange Commission itself, you report directly to them, and they also have a process in place to deal with that issue as well. So we just to ensure that we have processes in place to ensure that people's issues are dealt with.
Hello, good evening.
Yes.
Yes. Welcome.
Hello, good evening.
Thank you so much for calling. Yes.
Yeah, my name is Philip.
Okay, Philip, go ahead quickly.
Yeah, I want to ask a question to your guest in the house.
Please ask.
Ask
Philip.
Yes, I bought a share. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I bought a share Dangote Flour Mill in 2017. Hello?
Yes,
Hello,
go ahead, Philip, go ahead. We're listening to you.
Now the question is that I want to know how my share is, how it's progressing, as in to even know procedure to sell it, if I want to sell it, So I don't know how your guest can help me, in order to know, to provide answer on how to go about it.
Okay, do you still remember your broker?
Sorry?
Do you still remember your broker who you bought it through? But if not, if not, it doesn't matter. You can actually, write to the Central Securities Clearing System.
So, Philip, just listen on the radio so you can take note of what she's saying. Huh?
All right. Thank you.
There are a lot of people like Philip, and so I can assure you that, once that purchase was made, your record is with the Central Securities Clearing System. And so what you need to do is to send an email to them or to visit them. If you go to their website,
do they respond to emails?
They respond to emails, and so they will definitely get in touch with him as to the process to find out, his securities, find out which house it's in and things like that. And they will also show him the process by which he can, move that to another broker if the broker that he bought it in is inactive. So there are processes in place. So Central Securities Clearing System, just go to the website, you see how to contact them. They'll give you all of those details you need.
And the message here says, how can I get a broker, ma?
Okay, so if you go to the NGX website, you see a list of brokers, and then you also see the compliance record of the brokers, because it's very important that you choose a broker that you are comfortable with. So when you see the list of brokers, you've gone through the compliance record, you decide that, okay, these 3 or 4 brokers, I like them. You can then, go to their websites. They all will have websites, and then get more information concerning them and things like that. And thereafter, you can then contact them and say, I'm interested in you being my broker.
And when somebody has bought shares or you have invested in these stocks, can I transfer my shares to maybe my wife, my child, my brother, my sister?
There's a seamless process called a nominal transfer process. So again, working with your broker, you just make an application, and the application indicates that I intend to transfer it to my child, my daughter, and then they would help you go through that process and it will get approved and can be transferred to them.
Do they still give share certificate, or is it digital?
Yes, it's digital all the way now, and so it's e-shares that you get, and those would be reflected in CSCS.
Okay, back in the day in the bank, people say, okay, I want to use my share certificate to borrow money. So now that it's digitalized, can I still use my e-shares or e-certificate?
Yes, so it's even better now because the record concerning your shares is kept with an independent third party, and so and that CSCS itself has a process by which people can actually place a lien, what we call lien, on their shares and use it for whatever transactions they need, and so it's a seamless process as well.
Okay, we still have like a minute. Some people, their monies are in the bank and they sit at home, they get alert. Somebody is defrauding them. They're not making withdrawals, but they're getting debits, and most often than not, they lose their money. Can I be defrauded of my shares?
So there's a process in place to minimize the risk of being defrauded. So also within the securities markets, we have what we also call X alert.
Yeah.
So X alert meaning that if your shares are being sold, you will receive an alert. The second beautiful thing is that we also introduced a system where if a sale is happening on your shares, generally speaking, that money must go into your account. So part of what you're required to do, is to give your bank account details at the time you're purchasing the security. So even if there was a fraud, ideally that money will enter your account. It's only when you opt out, and you have to really pay attention when you're dealing with your broker, say I am not opting out of a situation, what we call direct cash settlement, which is that once a trade happens on your security, the money hits your own account and no other person's account. And so those are the processes that the market has put in place to minimize this risk from happening.
That's like foolproof.
Well,
almost foolproof. You don't want to say it. I get it. All right, that's our evening with Dr. Irene Robinson Ayanwale, and she's been talking to us about understanding the stock market. And it's quite an education here this evening. Thank you so much, Dr. Irene, for coming.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. Yeah, and that's our program this evening. Join us again next time. Till then, if you have to deal in stocks, get a broker. And that's it. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again next time. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Money Talks, hosted by the CFA Society Nigeria. Stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and YouTube at CFA Society Nigeria. Follow us for more financial insight and updates. Keep a date with us next time.